Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, good.
Good. Good evening.
How's your voice?
Again,
How's your voice?
my voice is okay so far.
Okay. Okay.
Chaf Aleph 21, Toshma. Simpon Sheish Edim. If you have like a receipt that has Edim, kosher. Now, my Edim, what kind of Edim? Ede Kiyum. That Bezdin certified it. And they're not going to certify unless they know that the star was paid. And Hachanami Mistavra, Miditoni Seifa. The Baraisa says, V'she'en alav Edim Pasul. That if it doesn't have Edim, it's invalid. Now, my Ein alav Edim. Ilem Delek Alei Edim Klal. If there are no Edim, what do you mean? Tzricha Lemeimed a Pasul? You have to tell me that it's possible. We know. Any document without Edim is Pasul. Elalav. It's Ede Kiyum. Period. So, Legufe, Simpon Sheish Lav Edim is Kai B'choisma. Ufa, Simpon Sheish Lav Edim, a receipt that has Edim, is Kai B'choisma. You have to go to Bezdin and certify the witness's signature. Ein alav Edim, v'yoytzu mitachas yidei shlish. There's no Edim, but a third party, somebody held on to it for this party. It was written in the star itself after the witnesses, not normally the witnesses will sign on the bottom and the simpon will be written in the goof of the star. But let's say it was written after the chasimas of the Edim, kosher. Now, yoytze mitachas yidei shlish, we say if a third party held on to it, it's kosher. Dahen hemena, he was obviously, the two parties trusted him to hold on to it. So if the third party says that it was paid off, then we believe him. If the receipt is written on the star itself after the signatures of the Edim, the ilav de pri ilav amar lelishtari. If it wasn't for the fact that the star had been paid, they wouldn't have weakened the star with the simpon. New parak Sheni. For most of us, this was the first Gemara that any of us ever learned. I first learned Gemara in 5th grade at Hillel, Hebrew Academy. Rabbi Marvin Sugarman was the rabbi. He was the assistant rabbi under Rabbi Dolgan at Beth Jacob. Eventually, he moved to the valley, became the rabbi of Sharet Tzedek. He was my 5th and 6th grade Gemara Rebbe. And in 5th grade, we learned Bava Metziah. I still remember learning this with Rabbi Gruman, with Rabbi Sugarman. And in 6th grade, learned Hamafkid, which is Perek Shlishi, which is the 3rd Perek. Abe, do you remember learning Elu Metzias when you were in elementary school? Huh?
You're muted. You are muted. Early
Yeah.
one should begin.
Yes, I remember it very, very vividly.
Yeah.
Because my father was my Rebbe.
Interesting. And he also started with Elu Metzias?
I'm sure he did. I don't know what they did. I don't know what they did in Poland, but probably.
No, I mean, your father taught you.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. That's very special.
Yep.
But Rabbi Sugarman was a very good Rebbe. He was very good. Elu Metzias Shelo ve'elu chayv la'achud. The Mishnah describes things that somebody finds that by the nature of the object you can keep. The nature of these objects are such that the original owners have abandoned hope of retrieving it. So whoever finds it can keep it. Versus other objects that if you find it, you'd have to announce that I found it. And you have to wait for somebody to come and give you a siman, give you a sign that they know it's theirs. So, Elu Metzias Shelo, Matzah Peres Mefuzarin. If you find fruit scattered on the ground, or Mos Mufuzaros, or money scattered, Krichos B'Reshus HaRabim. You have stalks of grain in the public domain, or Igule Dvela. These are dried figs pressed in a circle. Kikara Shel Nachtom, loaves of bread baked by a baker. Machroza Shel Dogim, strings of fish. Chaticha Shel Basar, strings of meat. Gizei Tzemer, Alakuchim Im Dinasa, strips of wool from the village after they've been sheared. Anitze Pishtan, pieces of flax. Lushona Shel Argaman, pieces of dyed wool, purple. These belong to him. He doesn't have to be makrazit. These are things that they're not unique, and they don't have any specific siman that a person would be able to give, and therefore the one who loses it abandons hope that he's ever going to get these again. Rabbi Yehuda called sheyesh bo shinui chayv lachris. If it's got some shinui, some change, some unique aspect, then you have to announce it. Ketzat matzah igul betocho. Within the pressed figs, you have betocho cheres. You have a piece of pottery in the middle, or kikar v'socho mos. You have a loaf of bread with some money inside of it. You have to announce those because the one who lost it will remember these things and will be able to give a siman. Rav Shimon Lazar called kli anpuria, certain vessels that are in the market, but there's no siman, so ein chayiv lahachris. The Gemara will explain what that means. Matzah peres mefuzaros. Now, what is considered spread out? Kav bar ba'amis. A kav is like a bushel, in a space of arba amos. So if it was in only shalosh amos, that's not considered spread out enough. So the Gemara wants to know hechidomi. Iderch nefila, if the fruit looks like they just fell, so afilu tuvanami, even if there was more than a kav, there's no siman. So how would a person be able to get it back? There's no siman in it. Ider chinuach, but if it was placed, so botzer mahachi, even if it was smaller, that you would not be able to keep it, because obviously if they were placed, the original owner is going to come back and get it. We're talking about a granary, and there are pieces of wheat on the ground, and these were not taken by their owner, and the owners were mafkirid. Because kav ba'arba amos l'nafesh tarchayu, a kav in an arba amos area, that's a lot of work to gather it. Lo tarchinish, a person's not going to spend the time to gather it. V'lo hadar asi v'shakelu, he's not going to come back for that. So afkuri mafkelu, so he's going to declare it hefker. Therefore, whoever finds it can keep it. Now, if it's been spread out botzer mehachi, it's not kav ba'arba amos, but kav b'sholosh amos. Tarach l'hadar asi v'shakelu v'lo mafkelu. So that's not a big space for him to gather it. So he will be matriach to gather it, and therefore he's not going to be mafkir it. Therefore, you can't keep it. So, boy Rav Yirmiyah, chatzi kav b'shtei amos mal. Is it the amount or the space that's important? And so, let's say you found a half a kav in 2 amos. Do we say kav b'arba amos time of mai mishum dinafisha terchai? If it's spread out over arba amos, there's a lot of work to spread it, to collect it. So he's going to be mafkir it. But chatzi kav b'shtei amos, even though it's only a half a kav, but it's only 2 amos, kiven de lo nafish terchayu, lo mafkiluhu. He's not going to be mafkir it. Oy dilma kav arba amos. A kav is not so much. Mishum de lo chashivi, so it's not important. And certainly chatzi kav b'shtei amos kiven de lo chashivi mafkalu will be mafkarit. But what about kavayim b'shmona amos now? 2 kav in 8 amos. Maybe kav arba's time of my mishum de nafesh terchayu. It's too much effort in that space. The koshakin kavayim b'shmona amos. If it's spread out over 8 amos, I don't care how many kavim you have, it's too much work. Kiva the nafesh terchayu, tfei mafkalu, he abandons it. Odilma, maybe kav amos mishum lo chashivi, but kavayim b'shmona amos kiva the chashivi lo mafkalu. Since there's more, there's 2 bushels, he's not going to be mafkarit. What about kav shumshumin, sesame seeds, ba'arba amos mal? Kav ba'arba amos, my time of. Why did we say, if you have a bushel of wheat in arba amos, we say he's going to be mafkarit mishum de lo chashivi, but sesame shumshum and kiven the chashivi lo mafkarit, you won't abandon it. Odilma, the issue is because of the space. Arba amos mishum de lo nefesh terchai v'koshakin shumshum. It's going to be much harder to gather up the sesame. They're smaller. The nefesh terchai nami mafkiluhu. What about kav tami ba'arba amos? A kav of pomegranate. Excuse me, a kav of dates. Kav rimoine, a kav of pomegranates, ba'arba amos. Kav ba'arba amos, tami mishum lo chashivi. Of regular tvua, it's not choshev. And maybe kav tami ba'arba amos, kav rimoine ba'arba amos nami. It's also, they're very common. Even the lo chashivi mafkiluhu, oy dilma. Mishum nafesh terchayu. gathering wheat is a lot of effort. But kaftami barbomes with kavrimoni barbomes give it a lot of. They're big items. It's easy to gather them up. Lo mafkilu. So all these questions, all these questions are answered take. I still remember when we learned this blot of Gemara for the first time, this was our first exposure to the concept of teku, where he had to explain to us, what does it mean? Johnny, we were talking that for many of us, this is the first Gemara, Bava Metziah, that we ever learned. Do you remember what, is this what you...
I came in like in the middle. I didn't come in with this one.
No,
The
in
first
school,
time.
Johnny.
No, I'm not
Oh, in
talking
school.
in school.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
In fifth grade, this was our first Gemara.
That's true.
Were you in Uruguay?
I was in Uruguay till high school.
So they had a yeshiva, Katana.
Directive Tano, yeah, we did. Yeah. And
Oh.
we translated to Yiddish, not into Spanish and not into English.
You translate into Yiddish. Okay.
Everything was Yiddish. Yeah. Rav Abelson, Mario, I don't know if you remember Rav Abelson, that was the Rebbe.
No.
It was a school named Yavne also.
And did you go there too?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay. Itmar. Now comes a very famous sugya, Yehu Shalomidas. When somebody loses something, when does he abandon hope of getting it back? Yehush means abandonment. When the owner, when he finds out that he lost it, he might abandon it. But when it was found, the Bailim don't even know that they dropped it. That's called Yehush Shalomidas. Abaya Omar Lo Avi Yehush. That it's not considered abandoned, that the owner still is the owner of it until he abandons it. Until a beferish, we know he abandoned it. Up until then, it's not considered abandoned. Rava Amar Havi Yehush. It means if we know this is an object, for example, that doesn't have a siman, the guy's not going to be able to retrieve it. So we consider it as if the Baal was meyayish at the moment he dropped it. That's called Yehush Shalomidas. Now, b'dover sheyesh bo siman, kolam lo pligi lo v'yehush. If an object clearly has Johnny Zarura written on the outside of the thing, so there's a siman. So no argument, de la v'yehush. He doesn't abandon it, even though he doesn't know that he lost it, he doesn't abandon it, because when he finds out that he lost something, he's clearly going to want to get it back because he knows there's a siman. And even though we learn later on that the owner of the Aveda abandoned it because a long time went by, Lo Aviyeush, it's not considered abandonment, and therefore when the person who found it picked it up, he's a Goslin. When he got it, he didn't get it legally. Because if the owner would have known about it, that he lost it, he would not have been miyayish. Because Meimer Omer Simona Isli Begav, I have the simon. You have the simon, I'll give the simon, I'll take my item. So he's not misyayish. And somebody who finds such an object, he's a Goslin. What about objects that got washed away? Bezuto shel yam. There was a flood. V'shilula shel nohar. So afagav the isbei siman. I mean, if a flood carries away somebody's object, even if there's a simon there, the owner knows he's never going to find such an item. Rahman Asharya. The Torah allows you to pick it up. Like we're going to learn later on. Now, ki pligi, where is there a machlokas between Abaye and Rava? But Dover she'ein bo siman, in an object that doesn't have a siman. Abaye Amar Lava Yehush. Still, there's not considered abandoned. The owner does not know that he lost something, and he has not abandoned it. Rava Amar Hava Yehush. This is a type of object that once the owner realizes he lost it, he will miyayish it. And Meimer Omer Simno Leslie Begavei. I have no simon in this, and therefore mehashim to miyayish. He understands that he was miyayish it from the moment that he lost it, backwards, retroactively. So we're going to try to bring proofs to these shitas. Pamgash Mimakik Mimkageti Kasaaz. These are mnemonics of all the various sugyas we're going to bring in this long and famous sugy of Yehush Shalomidas. Toshma.
So when somebody's miyayish, does that make it hefker?
Yes. So
So that is-
Yehush Bailim, and the person who finds it picks it up, so it's his. Yehush is like making it hefker. He abandons hope of finding it back. Now, it remains hefker until somebody actually picks it up, and then he acquires it through the kinyan of Hagbah and Meshicha. But if the owner has not been misyayish, then he's a goslin.
Right.
Okay. Toshma, Peros Refuzoin. Our Mishnah said that if you find scattered fruit, you can keep it. So, now, this is a case, the owner doesn't know that the fruit dropped from him. So, yet we say it belongs to the finder, which seems to imply Yehush Shalomidas is Yehush, which is a kasha Abaye. So, Ha'amar of Ukva Bar Chama, Hachab Mechadshah Dvezer Eskinon. We're not talking about any other. We're talking about when we were in the granary and there were some stalks left behind. The Avdamidasi, the owners of the Chitim know that he left these, and he was mafkir them Midas. There's no proof from there. Toshma. Ma'os mufuzars. Money that was scattered. And you find it, Hare Elu Shalom. Damai. Halo Yadid Anafamine. He didn't, we're talking about a case where we didn't know that money fell out of his pocket. And yet we say that the money is acquired by whoever finds it. Must be Yehush Shalomidas is considered Yehush. Hosumnami Kirat Yitzchak. Adam Atsu Lamashresh Bekisa B'chol Shah V'Shalom. A person is checking his pockets all the time. Must be that the owner right away knew that he lost it. And he actively was misyayish at that time. Toshma. Igule Dvela, Vikikor Shel Nachto. The circle of figs or loaves of bread, if you find them, are Elu Shalom. Amai V'alo Yadadav Minei. Same thing, he doesn't know that he lost them. Asumnami, Agav the Akiri Mediyodabuhu. They're heavy. And he knows right away once he dropped them that he dropped them. And he's misyayish right away. Toshma, L'shonishal Argamon, Hare Elu Shalom. These are strips of the royal purple that you can keep it. Amai, Halo Yadad, he doesn't know that he dropped it, and therefore Yehush Shalomidas is Yehush. These are valuable. He's checking it all the time, and therefore he knows right away that he lost it, and he's mismatched right away. Same, like Rav Yitzchak said regarding the money. To Rav Yitzchak, Toshma. You find money in a shul or yeshiva. Anytime that the public is there. Or elu shelo. And they shall buy them misyashim mehem. The owners are miyash. V'ad lo yada nothing. These must be cases where he didn't know that he lost it. So yesh shelo midas aviyeush. He's checking his pockets all the time, so he knows that he lost it, and he was misyash at that point. Toshma. Me'emasai kol adam mutarim beleket. There is a din of leket. If you have a field and you go through the field harvesting it, whatever drops, you can pick up. The aniyim can pick up. Now, when can anybody pick it up? Mishayelchu bam anamushos. The nemushos are the second round of aniyim that go through. After that, anyone can take the leket. V'amrina. What my nemushos? Who are these? Amrav Yechnon, Sabi Dazli Atigra. These are old people that go with a stick, so they go slower. And when they are finished, then anybody can pick. He says it's the second round of aniyim. Must be there's only a few left. And so the question is, why should the leket belong to any person? Fine, the local aniyim abandoned hope of finding anything more in this field because they saw already two groups of aniyim going through it. But there's aniyim further away that don't know about it. Must be yeshalomidas haviyesh amri kiven the ikaniyim hacha hanech mikara yushmiyash. The aniyim in the other town already abandoned hope a long time ago because they know that there's aniyim of this town. The amri aniyim also belong to lay. The local aniyim are gonna pick everything up. Toshma. Sios haderech. Dried figs that you find in the middle of the road. Vafilu b'tzad sodik tziyas, even on the side of a field where they're drying figs. You have a fig tree leaning over a road, and you find the figs in the road. Mutaros mishum gezel. Those that pick it up, it's like you found a lost object. You're not a gazlan. And P'turas l'namaiser, Hefker is poter b'namaiser, and you got this from Hefker. V'zeisim v'charuvim, olives, and carob, then aser. Why? Bishma reishel abai loy kasha. For a bayan, the reish is not a problem. Why? Because we can say agav dechashivim mashmu, because figs are valuable. He checked all the time. And if he saw that they're missing, he's misyash right away. That's why if you pick up the figs, you get it. Excuse me, that's the katsios, the dried figs. Teinanami, the other figs, made the other dedisra. You know that these fruits fall from the tree, and he abandoned hope. He knows that people walking in the road will pick them up. Now, Sefer l'Rav Akasha. The Zaysim and the Charuvim, we say you can't pick up. Now, why? Rava said, Yesh Midas Haviyesh. Why can't you pick it up? The term is Aser. It seems Yesh Midas is not Yesh. Unrav Avo, shiny Zayas. Hoil v'chazuso mochiach alav. You could look at an olive and you can know in whose field it grew. There's a certain shape. Even though they fall, we know that it came from this and this place. So from the appearance of the pre, you know where it came from. So by the figs that we said, you should not be able to pick up. Amrav Papa, Te'ena in the philosophy messes. When a fig falls, it gets squashed. And you could, the balabais is misyayish because they're not fit to eat. Even though maybe you could find which field it came from, the owner is abandoned hope in getting it because he knows if it fell, it's not fit. Toshma. Okay. We'll stop here.
Okay.
Ishkoya.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Thursday. No, tomorrow's Tanis Esther. Okay, what time is the fast over?
Oh, yeah, 6:40 something, no?
No, it's gonna be over like at 7:20. I suggest that we learn like at either 8 o'clock or 8:30.
Srika doesn't give a shit tomorrow?
There's no shear tomorrow.
Oh, okay,
So you tell me what you'd prefer, 8 or 8:30? Because we have to eat.
yeah.
1 second.
No, the fast is gonna be over at 7:30, 7:20, no?
Where's the time in here?
Here, I have the time. $7:42. Okay, let's do it at 8:30. The
Okay,
fast is over 7:42.
okay.
So we eat and everything like
Okay.
that. So let's do it at 8:30.
Ishkoya, honey.
Okay.